Alrighty, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you are. Good morning, maybe. I hope you guys are excited. We're in for another great race of Cyber Shadow. Today we have ThaDJ versus MiniSebrango. And it's bound to be a good one.
Like, oh yeah, this is how this is supposed to look like, and you try it yourself, and you just fall down every pit and stuff.
Oh hi.
Hello.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm feeling fantastic, thank you. How are you all?
I'm doing well, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you folks introduce yourselves, and I'm going to get us kicked off.
All right, sounds great. All right, hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Cowberry Sr. I'll be commentating this race today along with Aishma.
Hello everyone, I am Ishma, also a runner of this game, and have been commentating quite a lot of these races at the moment, which is pretty fun. So let's do this.
Very excited to get into this one with MiniSebrango versus ThaDJ, as of course I will be the opponent of the winner of this race, so we'll be watching them closely. I'm very excited to see this run, as both runners have been training very hard, and it's exciting to see how that's going to turn out for them. Currently on the leaderboards, we have Sebrango at 4th place and DJ at 11th, but as we've seen in this tournament, anything can happen. So both runners are off, waking up out of their sleep and headed off to pick up some basic HP. Simple left to right tutorial here, learning how to jump and slash here.
Yeah, it's like the tutorial, or basically the prologue of the game is like, it's not without its little tricks and secrets that you can do to save a little bit of time, but it's definitely, the easy part of the game to get the runners or any player, grabbed into the game with a little bit of a safety net going on here, because don't be fooled, this game is really, really hard, as we will see later on in this game.
Absolutely. It's a really nice warm-up to get yourself ready, and just a few things you can do there, getting all the HP and trying to do little kicky boosts off of the end of platforms. We'll see the dust from Shadow's feet as they kick off of the end of like the coyote space of these platforms. That advances Shadow about 3 frames forward and saves a little bit of time that becomes a bit significant, stacked and stacked and stacked as they go for more of them.
Yeah. Especially, you just heard like, oh god, it's 3 frames, it's like 1/20th of a second. That is like, negligible. But still, this is about a 1-hour run, so not only will this happen quite often in the run, since it is only a 1-hour run, those 3 frames will, that's still a significant amount of time in the long run, so do not neglect those, definitely. But yeah, chapter 1 is basically the introduction to the game. We have our standard actions like, running, jumping, slashing our sword. Not a lot going on there yet. However, over the course of the run, we will of course collect quite the arsenal of different tools and abilities that we will use going forward. So, it's just nice to get into the flow of things here with a couple of damage boosts going on right now. Both runners getting those, jumping onto the doorman, as we've learned just in the past few days. These enemies are called, and turning around just before you hit them, so that when you get pushed back from the hit, you will actually get pushed forward, saving just a little bit of time there.
A bit rude to DJ on the left there. I personally dislike these enemies a lot. Just like a little bit more of the complexity and just the running and jumping nature of chapter 1 here. Wishing runners luck, is hoping they don't get smooshed by Smasher, as Smasher does what Smasher does best. Attacks one specific area, and as long as you dance around these fireballs, the runners can deftly deliver hits, counting out and carefully timing their jumps. And as the height of the jump is very variable, so you want to not jump too high so you can land again and get that slash cycle continuing. So very clean Smasher for both runners, getting them in that standard 2 cycle and going into the largest room in chapter 1, I believe. There's like 3 time gates they're going for here.
Interesting fact just about
really
the Smasher is that if you actually stand underneath him when he comes down, you die instantly. And I didn't know that until somebody pointed it out to me. And of course, from that point onward, it can happen occasionally to me, which is like really, really bad.
Both runners doing really well to get this platform cycle. Sebrango, unfortunately, having a hiccup advancing to the top, so DJ is going to take the lead there. And we'll see how long they're able to hold this, as any strat can shift that lead pretty substantially. We're going to be trying to go for a top cycle here. Unfortunately, those bullets are not lining up correctly, and DJ takes the first step.
Oh.
This one is not too harmful, as the checkpoint is right there, but that's definitely a painful loss of momentum, and DJ will have to rebound and continue going forward, playing it safe and getting that low route.
Yeah, if you do want to take a death, it is probably shortly after you have just passed one checkpoint, because especially in the later chapters when the checkpoints get spaced out a lot more, if you then happen to die before one, that is just minutes of time that you can potentially lose, setting you back quite a ways in the game and in this race, especially since our resource management will get really important later on in the run.
We saw just a little bit of ledge clips there from DJ, using that like 60 hertz rule and able to jump into the coyote space of a drop through platform while Shadow is dropping. Can grab higher, and unfortunately not getting the last clip up to make the top cycle, but very clean effort nonetheless. We saw a very clean apparator kill on Sebrango's side, and mostly the same here from DJ. We're going to be stepping in between Apparator and those shuriken and just trying to deliver as many hits as possible. If he does get the full height on that jump, it's possible to go for those toes there and get some cheeky extra hits in.
Yeah, very clean fight from both of our runners here. We are at around the 5-minute mark at the end of Chapter 1, now into Chapter 2. And the game will gradually get harder from here on out because, you know, Chapter 1 was a very safe space to go and learn the game. Now in Chapter 2, they will be faced with a lot of insta-death pits with these trash compactors and spikes that you can fall into, coupled with a lot of tight cycles they will have to make if they want to go fast. If they, you know, want to pass all these trash packs dropping from the ceilings, blocking their way. So a lot of different movement that's going to happen here. And of course, our favorite enemies, the rust flies, are back in force. And as we all know, you know, flying enemies in games like these, they can just pass through walls, hitting you from above, from below, where you cannot attack them or stop them from attacking you. Which, of course, coupled with the fact that you've stepped back a little distance whenever you get hit, can really make you fall into these pits very easily.
Absolutely. Sebrango going up against the Rustfly boss now, kind of like a Gruz mother, but much more dangerous. Has some RNG flight pattern to it, and trying to stay low to manipulate the boss to come to you can be difficult. It also has an interesting variance in HP. It has, I believe, 3 to 5 HP. So it could be, looks like 3 for DJ, and not too bad. Leaving that room with 3 HP is about where you want to be for upcoming damage boosts. We're seeing that now on Sebrango's side, very clean to get this laser cycle.
Yeah, a thing to note is that laser will actually instant kill you if you touch it. However, what the runners will try to do is they will get hit by an enemy before the laser actually touches them, which will of course makes them invulnerable for a little amount of time, and they will use that exact time to go through the laser to cut like maybe a cycle out of it. So sadly, as I just explained, that DJ didn't get those cycles that he wanted to go for. But both of our runners are actually getting out to Laser Brain while MiniSebrango just finished it and DJ is getting into it. So Laser Brain is a very interesting boss or mini boss, as he is one of the only bosses, if not the only boss in the game, who actually has a weak point in the middle of his hitbox, like this glowing eye that you can see there. And if you actually manage to hit it, you will deal double damage to him, making the fight go on a little bit shorter. And that is why both of our runners tend to go for the blade extend sub-weapon that you can buy at the checkpoint before it, as that makes it so that your sword swings just reach a little bit further, making it a little bit easier to actually hit the Laser Brain's weak spot.
Very nice kill for both runners. DJ had a really good damage boost on the bombs the Laser Brain sent out to try to prevent Laser Brain from destroying the platforms. Unfortunately, one was destroyed. However, DJ was able to go for the toes, so to speak, and use that blade extend to get a 1 damage in just from the floor. So very good cleanup there as they go into the Rustfly elevator, and will have to resist falling asleep as they dodge Rustflies and lasers and spikes, as well as falling blocks from the ceiling.
Yeah, seeing what happened there during the previous race, I will probably not talk about this elevator for now while both of them are still in there, so just waiting around a little bit for this auto-scroller to finish here, but yeah, if you would to die here, it would definitely set you back like, I don't know, 1.5 minutes, I think the whole ride takes. So major time loss if you were to die at the end.
I've never even wanted to time it. I almost don't want to know how long it takes. Just don't fall asleep here. Sebrango is going through pretty clean, going for the trash cycle at the end of this room. If you can get through this deftly enough, you can save yourself waiting on another block cycle. So far, the lasers are lining up really kind, and it looks like we are going to get at least a very friendly cycle. Unfortunately, that last block on the right falling at the wrong time, but now all that's left to do is take out these lasers and then patiently climb the trash. It may look like you can jump to the checkpoint from where they were just now, but you have to wait for this last one or do a very dangerous drop that's not advised for RTA.
For sure. And after that climb, we are now up to Scrambler, the final boss of the second chapter. And he's actually I want to say, pretty easy boss in a way, because he's kind of scripted. He's a cycle-based boss, so he'll alternate between smashing the ground and shooting his lasers out of his hands, a bit like Iron Man there. And once he has done 3 of those attacks, he will try and jump over you. After which the cycle will repeat until you push him into the next phase, where his breastplate basically bursts open and will just start shooting you with both of his hands. And once you've actually killed him and depleted his whole life bar, he will just drop out in this mini version where he'll just jump over you and try to shoot you. And all of his attacks are kind of easy to dodge. I mean, there even is an achievement for you to finish this fight without getting hit at all. And I think both runners did a very good job of actually getting rid of Scrambler there.
Very good job keeping that close to the boss there and maximizing damage. Seeing even as it gets knocked back with the breastplate destroyed, they're staying in close and able to transition to the next phase before we can shoot out 2 fireballs to slow Shadow down. And we are now trying to dodge some of the Nickelodeon gack in these sewers, I assume. And very nice soundtrack to this level. I really like the way this level opens up. You got some good vertical hops and a lot of attempts for ledge clips in this level. So runners that aren't going above 60 hertz on the game can grab these ledge clips, and that ends up saving a lot of time.
Yeah, and what you will see the runners do here in these very compact tunnels is they will try to jump over these, I forgot the name, the flame bug thingies. And if you just turn around just before you hit them, again, you will get pushed back, which is actually in the direction that you are then going to save a little bit of time and make it through those enemies during your invincibility frames. Well, while you're still invincible, to not be able to take another hit there. And MiniSebrango was not taking the ledge grabs there. He opted to go for the full distance across the platforms, which might push him a little bit farther behind in the race, but we will see if DJ will actually go for that to maybe catch up just a little bit here.
Absolutely, got to claw for every bit of time save. It's not going to put you at too much risk of a setback. As this is a pretty large level, kind of U-shape, and we end up going up here and tagging a ladder that helps us in case we take a death, knocking on wood. Very good so far from Sebrango. Some small hiccups so far, doing the jumps and leapfrogs as they were over enemies, but having plenty of HP to progress through here.
I mean, the thing that you probably have to remember is this is a race, right? This is not necessarily a PB attempt for both of them. So what we will probably see in some cases, not meaning that we have to see it or that they will do it, but, at the end of the day, both of them want to win this race. So I guess we will see some kind of safety strategies at some points instead of going for the
HP pickup right there on the right.
Yeah. Instead of going for the total, balls to the walls maximum time save strategy that you would normally do during a PB attempt.
Absolutely. Coming up on the level 3 mini boss here, Sebrango is going up against Hunter Tank, going to have to take out this top part of the turret before handling the central part of the tank. And there are 3 smaller turrets here, which their shots need to be managed because the projectiles persist after the fight and can prevent your jumps later in the level. Very clean kill, though, and a safe advance from DJ, so we'll be seeing that again on the left.
And not only that, it is also terribly heartbreaking that the boss can actually kill you after you have killed it, because these projectiles persist after its death. Probably never happened to anybody, right? But, just keep an eye out for that.
Also a great kill from DJ, not having any projectiles, so good cleanup there. Just have to be careful with this one flame turret, as it can be a bit aggressive.
And just as you say it.
I had to get one in, I apologize.
Commentator's curse has been achieved. But yeah, it's like, you know, a very fast cycle. If you're just a little bit off it, yeah, that thing can just shoot at you as you're landing on the platform and immediately send you back into that flame pit there.
Great cleanup getting past the big hazard there. That second floater right before the fire pit. He's safe now. Very few things can go wrong short of total loss of input.
I mean, this is maybe the point where we can start a little bit about our resource management, because it will come into play the more deeper we get into the game. At the top left corner of the screen, you can see the red bar and the blue bar. The red bar, of course, being our health. I don't think I have to explain that in any more detail. But the blue bar is our SP, which is, you know, you can think about it as our magic points or special points or sub-weapon points or whatever the hell. It basically allows us to use our tools or abilities, our techniques that we get during the run, like the shuriken that we've been throwing, which is our, you know, ranged weapon option. And you can only throw these if you actually have some SP. And they are very useful at getting rid of some of the enemies that would, well, make you fall into a pit or something like that. But if you don't have any SP, well, you're just out of luck and you have to suck it up and fight these enemies normally, or not even at all, and just go ahead and ignore them.
Yeah, there was
MiniSebrango
having a no SP option for sure. I hope that gets in.
I mean, it would definitely be a great addition, if only it has like half the range or whatever, but it would certainly make some sections a little bit more easy to get through for sure.
Very clean fight from Sebrango. All 3 HP of remaining on the swag blade. Looked like that thing was going exactly where he wanted it and getting all of the necessary hits from the beginning and following to the left side and cleaning the boss up. We'll see DJ now going for the boss again. As that laser comes down, they're going to set up with that rising fire.
Yeah, after the blade extend against Laser Brain in the second chapter, the swag blade is like the second sub-weapon that we pick up during the run. And it's like this deathly yo-yo that is attached to Shadow. And if you actually manage to hit it with any of your attacks, you basically send it out in that direction. And since we have basically little to no options of fighting enemies that are exactly above us, it is a nice way to go ahead and kill Biohunter very easily. Now, of course, we do have the Rising Fire ability, but again, that costs SP to use, and we definitely do not have enough SP to basically get through the first phase of the fight with just using that. So the Swag Blade definitely helps getting through that fight really quickly. On top of that, we actually want to bring the Swag Blade into the next part of the run, as you saw MiniSebrango just do, and DJ now doing it as well. Because what happens here is we will go into this cave, and if you still have the Swag Blade with you, what you can do is you can send it upward and hit some kind of TNT that is attached to the exit of the cave when we want to go out later again. He's coming up to it right now, and since you hit it there
with the jump, just like DJ did, so 2 for 2.
Nice. And if you do hit that, well, it just detonates the TNT a little bit earlier, saving a little bit of time when you want to get out of that cave there.
Really good monkey climb from Sebrango, grabbing the wall grab ability now. Going for the fire swing, but unfortunately triggering it a little too early. It can, of course, result in a nice fiery explosion if you time it correctly. I'm now hoping that it's a homie blade and not a jerk blade for DJ as we're going up the climb. Very difficult, like, high pogo onto that lantern. Good second try attempt, and very nice monkey.
I mean, the flip side is
to
getting that time save by detonating the TNT earlier is, of course, that you bring the Swag Blade into this climbing section. And since the Swag Blade can just hit all of those crates and lanterns that you're trying to pogo off of, you know, that can create some problems during the climb, but very nice execution from the both of them. And we are now on to Chapter 4, where things are starting to get pretty spicy, I want to say.
Looks like Sebrango's blade may have taken out a floater enemy. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but was able to advance to the left and then use the swag blade to quickly kill the snake and have already hit the switch. Very nice snipe in the right side room as DJ is now going for his left side. Sebrango is going to very quickly do a cool pogo drop, instantly going down by using the SP version of the pogo and tapping down attack again.
Yeah, that is like one of the, well, I want to say hidden qualities of some of our abilities. Like, you know, the game definitely does not tell you that if you have SP and do the airstrike, which is this downward strike while you are in the air, if you tap the attack button again, it will just basically instantly drop you down, saving, you know, a little bit of time if you want to go fast. So that is definitely a nice technique to know about.
Absolutely. Now into probably, in my opinion, one of the harder rooms of Chapter 4. Lots of cycles and lasers doing 2 damage. Pretty much everything now does 2 damage as the game goes into a massive difficulty spike. And you have to be very patient, carefully timing out with wall jumps and pogos the delay on this worm enemy, however those are. Very good cycle though, lots of HP, and can attempt something crazy if they want to in the next room. Actually going to only tag this switch and then exit. At one point we found out from Alexi that, yeah, this isn't necessary to hit all of the switches.
Yeah, Chapter 4 is definitely, like you just said, a huge difficulty spike in the game. Like, you know, you've been introduced to insta-death pits and stuff like that in Chapter 2, and then Chapter 3 made a little bit more of those. But Chapter 4 is basically just all out, you know, death pits and enemies that are very deviantly placed in your way. They start shooting at you, they start dealing more damage to you, which means you go down faster. So even if the level looks pretty clean from just watching our 2 runners here, if you play this casually or if you try to speedrun this chapter is like, we really have to be up to your game, you know. If you haven't woken up yet, well, this chapter will definitely keep you in, you know, some ouchy parts.
Right, and this alley here likes to kick people and beat them up. Sebrango is hopefully going to have a very nice clean cycle, going for a good damage boost through that, like floor sniper. And going to do a very scary drop through the platform here,
and
nicely avoiding any damage from those rotating enemies and all the spikes on either side.
Yeah. They're basically instant kills that send you back quite a few rooms, so if he would have been hit by that, he would definitely be behind DJ now at this point. But he got through it, so
clean up on the jellyfish.
They will be able to follow suit.
If you kill any of these jellyfish, they'll change like the pattern, how they send their electricity, and that can catch you off guard. DJ unfortunately not quite making that drop and hitting a death there. This one can be pretty painful, so hopefully you're able to get like a clean cycle on the return.
Yeah, but that is like the thing, you know, like every trick that you do, especially above those insta-kill spikes or whatever, it is really harrowing. Like, it can save you seconds for sure, but it can lose you even more time if you don't get the trick or strategy or whatever. And he got it on the second try, so nearly got hit into the spikes again, though.
Good recovery there.
Yeah.
Just getting out of the woods again. Earlier I said that they were safe in Chapter 3, and then they did the scariest kind of jump through some fireballs, and it worked out. So I was very happy to see him survive.
Knock on wood that this keeps on going. But yeah, MiniSebrango now coming up to the mini-boss or mid-boss of Chapter 4, which is the Mecha Dragon. A Mecha Dragon is basically one huge pile of RNG in the run, as not only do you have to manage the enemy, the boss, but you also have to manage all these platforms over the water that they will disappear after a short while, but Mecha Dragon can also just destroy them, so you not only have to try and find an opening to actually hit him, or rather his weak point in his mouth, you also have to make sure that you actually have some footing to stand on to actually be able to hit him. And that is something that you really just have to learn, you know, how to manage all the things going on in this fight.
Even hitting Mecha Dragon on the rise in this slower attack, one of 2 intermission attacks, and definitely the slower one. You're seeing on the first cycle, Mecha Dragon decided he did not like Sebrango's positioning and wasn't going to take full damage from the rising fire. But on the second attack there, Sebrango was, or well, I think third one, was able to very effectively dish out damage, and all those fireballs seem to be connecting. It's a bit of a mystery how you're going to deliver the most damage to this boss.
You can kill Mecha Dragon in a 2 cycle, but it is, a very tight thing to do. Like, the RNG has basically to be perfect to be able to get that. What you will see most of the time is a 3 cycle, as we do with the MiniSebrango, but a 4 cycle is and probably will happen during a lot of your tries.
Pretty similar opening damage for DJ on the Dragon. Also getting a slow attack. It's going to snake up and down here. DJ is not gifted with the right platforms. Of course, not getting the best RNG from Mecha Dragon, but has injured it enough to potentially get a 3 cycle. We're kind of looking for a lucky right side, like Sebrango did get, Strizer pointed out. We are hoping for the right. Of course, Mecha Dragon says, I don't like that, and we're going to go for the left, and you have to be happy with a 4 cycle, which many of us are happy just to get out of this fight.
Yeah, DJ actually getting a little bit unlucky with the positioning of the floating platforms there, because I think they were just underneath Mecha Dragon's hit points, blocking some of the rising fires there and some potential damage. So this could have technically been a 3 cycle, but just the platforms didn't allow it for it.
We will be seeing the Light Warrior fight now that we glossed over. Just going to take out the torches and then deliver hits to this crystal. The faster we hit this, the faster the guys will spawn and the crystal will break. Once all Light Warriors, so to speak, have been defeated, we can grab the Katana upgrade and get a level 2 sword.
So yeah, we've been dealt double damage, or basically 2 damage with every attack in Chapter 4. Now it's time for us to basically do the same to the enemies. Whereas now our Strix will also deal 2 points of damage to the enemies, which is, a nice passive upgrade to have for sure here.
Very clean vessel defense system for Sebrango, not taking any hits to the sub-weapon. We were able to see the model of the fight taking out the 6 alarm orbs and then landing on the door and delivering rising fires quickly enough to kill the boss before its attack.
Yeah, that basically just melts the vessel defense system really quickly. And now we are onto one of the most harrowing sections in the run, I want to say, because as it so happens, you can get the E-Shield, as you see on MiniSebrango's side, or the Charge Blaster, as DJ still has. And we want to bring that a long ways into Chapter 5, which is coming up, because what those 2 sub-weapons allow us to do is to hit some switches to open some doors, like very early, definitely earlier than intended, which saves about, if you get both skips, I think about 45 seconds.
DJ got stuck in the enemy and was able to claw his way out for survival. I've never seen that before, but actually pogoed inside of that turret.
That was definitely painful, because you gotta remember everything here deals 2 damage, so if he just gets hit one more time, he will die, but he just got through that room.
Absolutely ninja-like, fighting to stay alive there and picking up that E-field, breathing a sigh of relief going into vessel defense system as Sebrango is grappling with an enemy turret, unfortunately taking some bullets from one of those stalkers.
Yeah, because as I was explaining earlier, you cannot get either a Charge Blaster or a E-Shield in Chapter 5, so you have to bring those from Chapter 4 through Chapter 5, and Chapter 5 is another step up in difficulty. You also have to go through one of the boss fights of the chapter as well to get the skip, so you definitely want to try and get as little hits on yourself as possible here, because after you've been hit 3 times, either your Charge Blaster or your E-Shield will disintegrate, and well, you won't be able to get that time save, which is pretty substantial, especially in a race.
Absolutely. DJ is going to have to play a little more careful in Chapter 5, having unfortunately taken a hit against Vessel Defense System, but otherwise getting a quick kill. Now picking up the parry and beginning Chapter 5 as Sebrango is getting toward the end, going for that first skip. Still 2 HP remaining on the sub-weapon, going to the final enemy. It's not too late to fall into the spikes. Fortunately, he has resisted Commentator's Curse and presses on. This tool actually has the neat ability to go further than Charge Blaster off screen and hit objects that we haven't seen yet, like that switch on the ceiling.
So MiniSebrango nicely getting the first skip, so that is basically the biggest time save of the 2 that you can get. For the second time save, you will have to get through the next boss fight as well, but it only saves about, 10 seconds, maybe 15. So it's not as substantial as the first one, but still a good time save to get, especially if you get it in a race, to have a bit more of a safety cushion here. But also what comes into play here is, again, our resource management. We've talked about why SP is important, but we also collect a lot of essence during the run. Essence being these yellow-orange capsules that you pick up, and it's like currency that you can pick up during the run. And what that allows us to do is to actually go ahead and buy these sub-weapons at the checkpoints. And that will come, well, more into play a little bit later on in the run when we actually are allowed to go ahead and buy these SP dispensers, which will be our best friend going forward.
Sometimes you can destroy those blocks in the wrong pattern and then take out your wall. So rather than grabbing onto it, the enemies catch up to you, and DJ was able to jump and slash away from that and save the E field. You love to see that, as Sebrango is going up against the first alpha fight. Having the E field, he can either choose to go all out at the boss, attacking it and trying to parry, or use the E field to soak some hits.
Yeah, so what the E field basically does is it will cancel the projectiles attacks against you, basically absorbing them. However, at the end of chapter 4, we picked up the parry ability, which allows us to block enemy projectiles ourselves and then reflect them back at an enemy to deal damage to them. However, since the E field blocks those projectiles, you actually want to attack first, so the shield gets disintegrated, so you can actually parry those attacks back at alpha.
It looked like waiting to absorb one of the hits. The E field was just maybe a couple frames too late in respawning, and so the sub weapon has taken one hit, but Sebrango still has that last HP and holding on to it for dear life, because he just has to get this to the right side of the Alpha 2 fight. Doesn't have to go through the fight with it as you would if you have the Charge Blaster.
And he made it to the room, so he's basically home free to get the second skip as well. Very nice.
Well done for Sebrango, and now hoping that DJ can persevere with those 2 remaining HP. So far, a damageless Chapter 5, which you love to see. Missing, the Alpha 1 fight is coming up now. So we'll see DJ's strategy for dealing with that boss with this tool.
And just to reiterate, getting a damageless Chapter 5 is not easy, because all these enemies, especially the purples one, can be literal pains in your behind, as they are programmed in such a way to try and intercept your movements, and they will move accordingly, and that can just really mess you up in a myriad of situations. And that was a very clean Alpha 1 fight from DJ over on the left there.
Very clean Alpha 1. It looks like Sebrango very clean Alpha 2 as well, getting out of that fight without taking any damage.
Yeah, Sebrango definitely does not make it easy for DJ to catch up at any point in the run, He's definitely not taking any chances here. He's going for all the strategies and everything, and DJ taking another hit on his E-field by touching the spikes. And, he just lost it by touching another spikes. So, well, at least we as the viewers will see both strategies for that room, because DJ will not be able to get the second spin.
At least he did get the first skip and a very nice Alpha 1 kill, but Sebrango now has the dash from the Falcon Shrine and is going at terrifying speeds. No double jump yet, which can throw our runners off, thinking we might have that once we have dash. But we still have to be very tactical about the jumps and measure out our spacing so that we don't max range the dash and fall too short of our goal.
Yeah, the dash is basically where the run picks off, from this point onward, it's basically dashing as long and as fast as we can through all the next levels and chapters that are coming up. Because how the dash works is, if you have SP, your dash will leave this blue after image after it. And even though you take 1 SP to activate it, you will get an SP if you manage to destroy something during the dash. So if you kill an enemy or destroy a box or whatever, you will get that SP back. And that is really crucial, because as long as you have SP, you can chain these dashes one after the other. But if you do not have any SP, the dash will be a little bit shorter, it won't deal as much damage, and you most definitely cannot chain them together, which can drop you into pits if you are not careful.
very important, and SP management just got so much more critical to Shadow as we see a 3 SP option drop into a triggered laser. Sebrango actually tempted and started to back up for it by the looks of it, but then decided it wasn't worth triggering that angry Saw Blade for the SP and ended up getting some in a later checks. So now it's all about that conservation, using that dash property to save what SP you have. As it will be very important in the next room Sebrango is going into, we'll be able to just fly through by intentionally activating the alarm system.
Yeah, it just cannot be understated, like how crucial SP management will be for the rest of the run going forward here once you get the dash. It's like the most important thing basically that you have to be on the lookout for, which is also why the SP dispensers that we are going to get in a short while here will be that much more important to us.
Absolutely. Coming in on Tunnel Cleaner now, we're going to try to get some parries here and open up on the boss. As much damage as possible, and then it's going to send out some bombs. We're going to try to destroy and throw back at the boss. When the eye is fully open, you can score 2 hits, one while it's open, one while it's closing. But if you strike the boss while it's opening, you will only get 1 hit in. So very, very critical timing involved in this boss. Sebrango is not getting quite the opening that I think he wanted, but a very good cleanup nonetheless.
Yeah, sadly he didn't manage to properly parry the projectiles that Tunnel Cleaner was shooting at him, so he was missing some damage to push the face early on Tunnel Cleaner. So that fight took him a little bit longer.
Got that angry, saw that Sebrango decided SP wasn't worth it for, and proving its threat. DJ took an unfortunate death there, but just one room back, so we are back on the grind and looking for SP. Usually there's a big one in this top box. And DJ's looking good on SP now.
Chapter 6 basically allows for two strategies. One is without the alarm systems, the other is with them. Now, with them, you can of course go very fast because it spawns more enemies for you to dash through to go faster. However, it will also spawn this yellow-orange saw blade, which will deal massive amounts of damage to you if it actually hits you. So there is a little bit of a payoff that it will do there. And DJ is sadly getting hit back into spikes yet again by some of the turrets that also get spawned from triggering the alarms there. So it's having a little bit of a problem getting through Chapter 6 here. While Sebrango
find his momentum getting through this turret. It's looking good. Sebrango going up against a very interesting part of the sewers now, getting through the door enemy. Will he go for the save point or dash above it? Okay, very wise in a race setting, getting that checkpoint, and we're going to be just dashing through and zooming to our first free SP up dispenser.
Sebrango on the other side now having a very clean Chapter 7 as far as I can tell. He's already halfway through the bug nest. And Chapter 7 is just one of the killers of the run for sure. Like, you know, we've made it through Chapter 4, Chapter 5, also Chapter 6. But Chapter 7 can't just be a total run. And like, there are so many hazards here and enemies that deal a lot of damage to you. You can run out of SP really, really quickly and just be stuck wherever you are at that moment. But Sebrango is just not having none of it. You know, he's just dashing through it. No questions asked.
Very nice dashing so far. A little too high on the big rust fly and hit the smaller one at the end, but still 2 HP remaining on that dispenser as DJ is just cleaning up the tunnel cleaner.
I mean, the SP dispenser will probably just be our best friend going forward. You know, if this game would have a dog companion for you to tag along, it would be the SP dispenser. You know, no questions asked, because that thing does exactly what its name implies. It will slowly regenerate your SP, and what that allows us to do is to basically just dash all over the place. So there will now be basically 2 strategies that you can do. One without the SP dispenser if you happen to lose it. And the other strategy is, of course, go fast if you have it, because you basically have limitless SP, which means we can just go all out on all of our abilities.
Absolutely. Going through sort of a difficult core now, trying very hard to keep that SP dispenser alive. No problem killing the core. And Sebrango is going to be able to use all of this SP, having even gotten extra in Chapter 2. He's going to have a higher max capacity and even more potential to just let loose with the dash button. seeing a very quick approach to dragon, and having collected all the letters, this dragon is going to empower all of our abilities now in exchange for our servitude in life and death. Pretty sweet deal if you ask me. Super Ninja and Eternal Life. So let's go. So now Sebrango will be able to double jump, throw explosive kunai, and many more awesome upgrades to each of those abilities.
Yeah, basically what it allows us also to do is to charge up our attacks, so each of our abilities basically has now one more level of attack that we can do, which alters them in very various ways. But the most important thing, I guess, that we can all agree on that we pick up here is the double jump, because so far, we've only had our one jump, but we are a ninja, we want to do double jumps, we want to go higher, and this finally allows us to do so.
Yay! One thing very important to mention is if you do dash through an enemy midair or pogo off of an enemy, this does refresh your double jump.
Mm-hmm. And you guessed it, you can just go ahead and chain them together. And MiniSebrango now into Chapter 8. And this is, another checkpoint basically where the run just basically goes off the rails. Like, the music in this part is basically like my personal favorite of the whole soundtrack of the game, because it just makes you feel like really powerful. We are at maximum power. Now we have all of our tools, all of our upgrades, and from now on until the end, it's just, dash and double jump and go basically as fast as you can. And it's just fun to do if it goes right, but the game is still brutally hard, so that blinding speed can come to a crashing halt very quickly if you do not pay attention.
Absolutely. Getting very close to the spikes there. If your double jump input just isn't right there, then that is a painful death, especially if you skip the previous checkpoint, which Sebrango made sure not to, this being a race. Fortunately, getting this SP dispenser through to this cyberlock, accidentally cycling back in and out of the door. I hate it when that happens. Hopefully able to make this damageless ascent through 2 rooms of cyberlock, and that will free up Exo, our sweet motorbike friend. And if we actually have less than full SP and an SP dispenser while we are riding Exo, the SP dispenser will give us Essence instead.
It's basically a point of the programming, because during the auto-scroller coming up, you're not technically controlling Shadow, you're controlling Exo. And since, Exo doesn't have any SP, so to speak, so the SP dispenser doesn't know what to do. It cannot regenerate your SP. So what it does is instead it just generates essence for you, which gives you a nice little currency safety cushion going into the last chapters of the game, where you would need to buy more SP dispensers if things would go wrong for you. So it's very nice to have here. You don't technically need it, but it's just a bit of a safety cushion. And in a game that is as hard as Cyber Shadow, you want this safety cushion, especially in a race.
DJ getting that cushion as well, 2 HP on the dispenser. Not only will they have this essence, but after this first Exo phase, they will have the option to do a damage boost to set up a really cool door clip. This set up by Mekacity. So very excited to see if these runners have opted to learn this strategy, or if they will try it in a race. It can be risky, as if they fail, they'll be up against the door, probably taking damage and put into a poor position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a trick that can save you, a couple seconds at least, but you have to do a very specific setup, because what we're trying to do is we will face another one of these, I think they are called 3 knocks, these 3 eye-like enemies that shoot projectiles at you that basically block your path. And what you can do there is another flying enemy around in that section of the game. And if you can make it so that this flying enemy is basically in the hitbox of that door enemy, and you dash through it, your dash will actually target the flying enemy, and you will just clip through the door enemy, allowing you to, basically not having to fight it, saving a bit of time to go through there. But like Carl just said, it is very specific to set up. It can put you in a very bad spot if you don't get it, so it's exciting to see what our runners here will do.
Here, Exo is going to put the, I forget the formal technical name, but Magical Ninja Turtle Bubble Protection on us and bounce us safely out of the explosion. Presumably Exo is fine. And we are just going to spam dashes with the SP dispenser, very quickly rising and advancing to this, I guess, 3 knock. The setup will be to dash through both of these flying enemies and then take a damage boost as the enemy approaches.
And you got it.
Flawless execution from Sebrango right through the door.
Now keep in mind, Sebrango did opt to lose his SP dispenser by doing so because it was down to 1 hit. So he could regenerate a little bit more assets if he still had the SP dispenser in the XO2 phase here. But I think he's doing pretty well on essence. Yeah, he has like over 200 right now, so that is more than enough to last him for the rest of the game. So I think he is pretty fine without the SP dispenser for a moment, especially since we will be able to pick up another SP dispenser after this section anyway.
Be careful, DJ. I believe DJ may have just dashed through the checkpoint, so taking a lot of time to keep the SP dispenser alive and not get hit by that patrol at the top. Very good avoidance of those mini enemies in a surprisingly stressful situation, as Sebrango is attacking aggressively at the mini boss of Chapter 8.
Yeah, Exo tells you to attack aggressively against this dropship here, and that is exactly what we're going to do, dropping it in about 3 cycles. I don't think you can do it any faster, at least I have not seen anyone do that, but yeah, I mean, that's the name of the game here. And DJ actually managing to take the SP dispenser into Exo 1 as well, so he should be good on SP going forward as well. Assets, sorry, not SP.
Absolutely. These are very high numbers, and unless the runners need a lot of emergency refills, they shouldn't be going over their budget at this point. But there is a budget of HP in this Exo section, and having unfortunately hit one of those sparks, that's a very scary 3 HP to be at. But Sebrango is able to transition screen before they catch up to him.
DJ unfortunately taking a bit more damage than he probably wanted to during the auto-scroller on the bike and actually dying just before getting into the temple there, so that will set it back quite a bit again, sadly. And he also now lost his SP dispenser because of that, because even though you hit a checkpoint, you actually lose your sub-weapon when you die, and you could only go ahead and pick up another one at that checkpoint, but of course it would only be the sub-weapon that the checkpoint provides and not the one which you had before, so he will now have to do without the XP dispenser going forward for a while.
We'll see if perhaps this changes things, and he's able to get that boss fight that we always hoped for against the Parator, and his Exo may fare better than the one on the right. Sebrango is going to buy the HP refill, complete refill there for maximum safety going through this infamous death loop. This is a very wise decision, as this is, let's just say, a hectic series of rooms.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the toughest challenges in the game, the rooms coming up here. You know, you could opt to not get the full HP refill and instead just do a quick save and quit there, which will put your HP back at its base value, which is 5. But since we've picked up quite a few, HP upgrades during the run, getting the actual HP refill at the save station is a little bit more safer because you would get more HP, and that is critical in this section here, as Sebrango just passed the room where you could very easily die with all the enemies that come running once you hit the alarms there with the mines and whatnot. So it's pretty infamous amongst runners to die there.
Very good decision making from Sebrango, getting caught up and deciding what to do, kind of deftly parrying the orb here and waiting to drop as the lower part of that tube got swarmed with enemies. So you love to see taking 1 hit but preserving the other 2 points of that SP dispenser. We really want to take that weapon through the latter half of Chapter 8.
Yeah, Chapter 8 is basically the longest chapter in the game because, we've been here for quite a while now, and we will still be for just a little bit more, as we're basically backtracking through every previous chapter that we have been through. Like, if you look at the background images, we've been through Chapter 6 with the, the alarm lasers. We've been through Chapter 3, which is the tunnels. We are now back in Chapter 4 for a little while with the reactor core here. So it's a nice throwback, to the earlier stages in the game, which are, of course, way harder in this part. Absolutely. With all the corruption going on, these purple goo corrupting everything here. And it's a very harrowing run.
Return to Mekacity, as the tournament is named. This is one of probably the most formidable chapter in the run, I think.
Definitely. It really pushes you to your limits. And, you know, we are not at the end. The game won't get any easier going here on out, as we only have
I'm
3
not
more
calling
chapters to
Chapter
go.
10 easy. We still have docks, we still have Chapter 10, and Chapter 10 has many, many problems. 3 bosses, one of which is a trio of bosses itself, as well as a climb, which may as well be a boss.
So ThaDJ now up to chapter 9, which is the docks. And, you know, the docks, again, give you a little bit of a safety cushion, because what we're going to do is we will do a lot of air movements, you know, a lot of dashing and air striking over water. You know, there are mines down there that can very easily kill you because, again, they deal a lot of damage to you. However, you don't instantly die when you drop down. And that is basically practice for what is coming up in chapter 10 once we are out of the docks here.
A very good short work of that hunter tank-esque enemy, and taking care of this mini boss rush quickly with lots of SP to spare, so Sprinkle will be blazing through this slower route. A very satisfying chain of dash attacks as we board this last platform and right through this enemy, which one can be a bit sneaky and snipe us right as we get there. So it's good to see no problems here as we are just flying through the level. Unfortunately, no more SP dispenser, but yeah, I mean, plenty of SP, and good management can take you very far.
ThaDJ doing a fantastic job of managing SP, like even without the SP dispenser, and he is now on the boat, and we will do a lovely little boat ride. So get your chants ready, everybody. Slow boat,
slow boat, slow boat, slow boat, slow boat, slow boat, slow boat.
Now the thing we do that,
hoping that they get a slow boat. We want the game to give them actually the fast boat, but it's sort of an unknown, probably bus system that we're hoping to end the entire boat sequence at the right time that the game rewards us.
It's basically, you know, reverse
it seems
psychology.
To also have a bus cycle on the boat's departure as well as its arrival.
Yeah, basically what happens there is at the end of the boat ride, you can get one of 2 scenarios. One is the fast boat, the other is the slow boat. There is no discernible reason why one or the other happens as far as we can tell. And what just happens is either
getting
your
a wrong
boat...
dash and ending up in some spikes.
Oh. Well, you know, at least he got it at the right point, I guess, so he can just go ahead and grab the SP dispenser once more. So it would definitely be more harrowing in the later part of that particular section, I want to say. Not that it's good to get the death, but not as drastic as at any other point.
Good cleanup now and progressing through this very scary room. Doing a very good dash and pogo combo to go without triggering any of the defense system.
Yeah, that is the more safe route, I want to say, not hitting those laser attacks. However, it is a little bit more tricky to do, I want to say, because you really have to time your dashes perfectly to not accidentally hitting one of these laser triggers while you're going through them. Because if you just actually dash through them, you will actually not hit them. So you just have to perfectly time your dashes and you will not, you know, activate the alarm system.
ThaDJ now onto Combinatron, actually gating a little bit of damage, not going all out right away because we really don't want the boss to trigger this healing phase. Just barely getting that last lethal blow in before the heals started reaching the boss and heal cycling it. So a very good delivery of management of damage there on the right. Actually, using Legion as a target for the dash attack.
Oh, poor Legion. But yeah, once you get Combinatron to down half of its health, it will drop its hands onto the bottom there and start healing itself. It's the only boss in the game that is capable of doing that. But if that happens, the runner will basically just decide to probably save and quit out of there and try the fight again, because it will just lose you oodles of time if you try and fix that fight, because you would then have to go and actually destroy their hands and then fight a fully healed Combinatron, which basically takes a lot of time.
Another good use of the exploding shuriken for DJ, blowing up those walls like ThaDJ did earlier. Good early access. Getting a little trolled by a snake, but now making his way through the end of Chapter 8. As ThaDJ going over one of the scarier rooms in Chapter 10. If you get hit at any point from a short dash there, you may as well just drop into the electric floor below and try again.
Yeah, this is what I meant earlier when I said...
slow platform, nothing saving you.
That is what I meant when I said earlier that, you know, Chapter 9 basically preps you for that very thing, because Chapter 9 you have still the water to cushion your fall, whereas in Chapter 10 there's just death below you like the whole time. So if you do dash at a wrong point or something goes wrong, you get hit, you will just drop to your death and have to restart it from the previous checkpoint. But yeah, a little bit of a lull going on at Sebrango's side over there as he has to get through these blast doors, so you have to hit a switch and
killed the enemy early there.
That is actually a nice strategy that has been recently found, I want to say. You know, actually parrying one of these projectiles and hitting the enemy through the blast doors there, saving a little bit of time because you don't have to fight the enemy after getting through the doors.
Unfortunately, not quite getting enough damage with the Firebirds on the spider rail to lock its eye open and get the mass order of onion rings, but Sebrango is now just dodging attacks and waiting for the next cycle, using those kunai to actually deal damage to the boss while its eyes close. Now getting the onion rings and returning them swiftly. We're going to hope for a fast elevator here, as well as it can be a fast or a slow elevator.
Can I just say how much I love the fact that we are calling those projectiles the onion rings?
I love that too.
Alright, and Sebrango is now onto the final chapter of the game, and it is the climb. Like 3 screens back to back of vertical action going on here with all sorts of flying enemies around him that will just try and knock him back down, back to the ground. This is like really the final challenge before the final gauntlet of bosses here. Sebrango getting a little bit bullied by the enemies, but he was able to do a nice comeback. So let's see if he will take it a little bit slow here, because he is starting to be very low on health. Like one more hit and he could
going
be
dust. The HP in that lantern there is very wise as he ends out the first room and hardest room of the climb. There could still be disaster here, but it's a bit less likely. Very nice opening pogo onto that first enemy in the wall. It's not quite active immediately, it seems, so good to be able to get that double jump up and hit it with the right timing as they purchase the SP refill and SP dispenser to go through this trio of bosses as quickly as possible.
And those are the final fights for Sebrango here. Now, first is Apparator again, and we will just dash him to bits. Like right at the start, those were some really good dashes here. Like Apparator is already done. Wow. Very nice.
With the Rising Fire kill as he jumps backwards, I really like the stylish flourish on that finish. As we hear Progen tell us about his novel idea, and we're just waiting on the shield to go active, sending some Rising Fires into it and trying to deliver some damage as we wait for this very critical spark. It homes in on us and we want it to land sort of right by the boss so we can parry its flames. Unfortunately, parrying the thing itself, Sebrango was still able to throw Rising Fires as a quick backup to finish off phase 2.
I think ThaDJ actually managed to get the fast boat, if I saw that correctly here, so he might be able to gain a little bit of time on Sebrango, but unless Sebrango really has a lot of problems with our Progen 2 here, I think Sebrango might finish this run in the next 2 minutes or so, I guess.
Yeah, it's looking like a very good first phase of this fight, dealing the first half of health down and getting the boss to rise, and then using this green essence trapped still in that orb as a platform to pogo up, and that is an initial G for MiniSebrango.
3 Gs in chat for MiniSebrango, as he's not quite done yet, but he is basically done with the hard part of the game, so let me check that. So Sebrango's PB on the leaderboards is a 57.36, so this could indeed be a PB for Sebrango.
Let's hope that the switch sequence is clean. Still having 5 SP, they have a lot of options to use the SP for faster pogo drops or some stylish shuriken throw on the switch. DJ getting trolled a little bit, going for this sort of drop down here, but able to recover footing on the second try and advance over this terrifying network of Orbeez and electricity wire.
Yeah, I think he shortened the dash a little bit too much, getting hit on the fire and then dropping down, and was really, just barely able to recover from that. But he managed to
almost very get hit into electric fire. He may have ran out of SP, so they're using an emergency SP refill. This is one of the wisest rooms, I think, where that has some of the most distance, because not only Can
Yeah.
you now safely go through the top if your dashes are timed out just right, but you have enough SP to confidently go through this room as well?
MiniSebrango missing one of the shurikens, but that is a GG for Sebrango. And that looks like a 8-second PB for him. So very well done, good sir.
Big congratulations to Sebrango for advancing in the tournament and doing so with a personal best. You frankly love to see that.
So he will be your next opponent, right? How are you feeling
That's
about
correct. You know, I'm excited. My summer best believes in me, but I have to practice more to believe in me as much as that.
Well, I guess now you know what he is capable of. You know, PBing in a tournament race is no easy feat for sure. So putting a little bit of pressure on you there, I suppose.
That's definitely a formidable time, and I rest assured I will be training hard. As
Looking forward
TJ
to
is
it.
going now into the spider rail, only having one SP. He'll just throw one Firebird up, I believe, out of spite. It says take that spider rail. So it's not going to give the onion rings because it hasn't taken enough damage. So the eye remains closed in this phase, but shortly we will see the next onion ring phase and hopefully a clean boss kill.
The spider rail is also a pretty cycle-based fight there. He always does the flamethrower. Afterwards come the onion rings. He will then throw out some bombs followed by some spiderlings and then just, repeat from the start. So if you manage to damage him a lot before the first onion ring phase, so to speak, he will actually keep his eye open and you will be able to damage it with a lot of reflected projectiles there. But DJ now also coming into the climb, into the last chapter of the game, so let's see how his climb goes, as he has no SP to do it. Not that it's really needed at this point, but of course, some dashes or powered up airstrikes can sometimes make the difference here, so let's see how we will proceed. Taking a little bit of a safety approach here, I guess. Missing that platform by just a hair.
Welcome in, MiniSebrango.
GG's,
Congratulations
good sir.
on the race. GG, well played. How do you feel?
I just PB, so everything awesome right now.
I love that.
I know my tunnel cleaner wasn't the best. I could have PB'd even more, but except that, I think almost everything clicks. So it's just awesome. I'm on a cloud right now.
Yeah.
That was an awesome run to watch, and it was a very good race. DJ unfortunately had take some deaths in the run, but is persevering and strongly shouting down a Imperator right now, going into his final trio of bosses.
So yeah, let's give that a watch. He already got more than one health bar down on Imperator in the basically first phase of the run before he of the fight before Imperator even moved. Now onto Progen as well. So only 2 more fights remaining for DJ here. So let's see what he will do. Will he get the parry? Will he do the Rising Fire?
Didn't get the bounce back. We saw you get knocked away. Did that change your approach to Progen 2?
Oh, sorry. What you said?
When the opening to Progen 2, it knocked you away with the Rising Fire. Did that change how you approach the boss at all?
No, most of the time that's what happens. I hope not, but most of the time I don't have yet the right placement so he doesn't knocks me back. So I'm assuming that's what's gonna happen, but if not, it's just better.
Nice. Very good. You handled that very well. Unfortunately, not getting like the parry and swiping the guy away, but then very quickly cleaning up the boss with the Rising Fires. So it was very well done. DJ now having an excellent fight. Unfortunately, losing that SP dispenser, but only 2 hits left on the boss. Playing a bit bold and ignoring that bubble, going for a finish, but now sitting at the floor, charging that Firebird, and that is
and 3 Gs for DJ.
It didn't quite occur to me, but that was a very clean run. Congratulations on the Deathless PB. That was incredible. We really didn't see any setbacks aside from, like you said, the tunnel cleaner and Mecha Dragon perhaps not being friendly with the opener, but you had a very clean damage on the third cycle.
Mecha Dragon is just Mecha Dragon. You hope for the best, but you assume it's gonna go the worst. So it's really a tunnel cleaner that makes me inch a little bit because I even practice it just before the race, and it's not the usual setup that I do. But hey, it is what it is.
I mean, I guess you can hardly argue with a PB at this point, right?
That's it.
Very nice getting out of that room with, I think, 2 HP. It was either you or DJ. It was kind of scary on the tunnel cleaner. It's good to see you get out of that. What were some other like highlights or scary moments from the run? I know the door clip has to be up there.
Yeah, I started practicing it not that long ago. Most of the time it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I wasn't sure of the placement of the green guy when I did it, but it seems like it was okay because I went through the door.
And GG's for DJ, who has now also finished his run.
Big congratulations to the DJ. Coming in 1-103. Cyber Shadow showing its hand and being a very aggressive game and proving anything can happen. We actually did see. We'll wait for DJ to join us on comms if they would like to. A very good race, you guys. Thank you for that showcasing.
So while we wait on DJ,
no, go.
Sebrango, did you have anything, going into this race? Like looking at the leaderboards, you were like, maybe the champion going into this fight right here. Was that something that gave you like a sense of safety going into that? Or were you just, no, this is still a hard game. This is a hard race. I'm not going to take, any, what's the word I'm fishing for here?
Risk.
What just were your thoughts going into this race against DJ here?
Well, DJ is good. Everybody in the tournament is good. You don't want to underestimate anyone, and Cyber Shadow can be a Cyber Shadow. I made a run recently that was 106, 107. If you don't have any reset, anything can happen. So I hoped for the best, which happened, but I'm going all in, and I don't want to underestimate my opponent because he can do as well. He can have a PB and just defeat me, even if he's lower in the PB race. If you want, anyone could have a really good PB on a day, and the leaderboard doesn't mean anything on that scale.
Absolutely, I big agree, and welcome in DJ. How are you feeling?
Well, not so great. It wasn't my best performance.
That's fair, but still huge GGs on the finish. It looked like it was definitely a strong Progeny kill.
Yes, thank you. It came together a little bit at the end, but overall not happy with this.
But I guess that's just really Cyber Shadow for you in a nutshell. Even though those are two really good runners, you could see that something just sometimes can go wrong. You make a little mistake and you just get sandbagged so much in a level that it can just lose you oodles of time. So GG's for you to having the mental fortitude of getting through that and just pushing through it all and still finishing the run. So that was really great to see.
Thank you, and big GG's to Mini as well, and congrats on the win.
Thank you, GG to you too.
There were definitely some unfair curveballs thrown at DJ. I want to talk about Reactor for a second, if that's okay. Has that ever happened that you pogoed into the turret, and how did you feel escaping that room? I'm so proud of that recovery.
No, I did not know that could happen.
You did not give up.
I was really just mashing buttons and suddenly I was free, so...
That's honestly, I'm very happy that it worked out. Like, it was awesome.
So, I mean,
know
it
the
was
race
also just
wasn't
harrowing
what you
to
wanted to see, but-
seeing you go through the rest of the room because you were down to 2 HP. So any hit after that could have just easily killed you and sent you back again. So that was definitely a moment in this race.
Yeah, that was one of the scarier moments on the race. I agree.
Maybe the
very
same
big
question
highlight.
for you going into this race. Like, you know, you were looking at the leaderboards, you were behind MiniSebrango. So what was your, your strategy going into this race? Like, were you pulling any punches, taking a little bit of a safety strat here and there, or were you just trying to go all out?
No, I don't think I could afford to go for too many safety strats here. Mini, I think, very strong player, number 4, I believe, on the board. So I really cannot afford to slow myself down any more than I need to.
I definitely respect that aggressive playstyle, and big respect points for jumping through the fires in Chapter 3, you maniac.
Yeah, no, that's I find it a very there's basically 2 situations, one where you get hit by the first guy and one where you don't. And if you get hit by the first guy, just keep holding right and you'll always make it, basically.
Very cool.
Well, I guess that may be a strategy that we will see coming forward here in one of the next races in this tournament, because we still have a few to do.
Yeah, and I look forward to all of them.
Thank you very much, guys, for an excellent race. Thank you for commentating with me, Aishma, and always thank you, Strizer, very much for throwing this tournament and doing like literally everything. Do you guys have any closing thoughts for us as we head out?
GG everyone that's involved, and that's about it for me.
Yeah, basically, thank you, Strizer, for hosting this tournament, and thank you for the commentators for commentating this race.
Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to seeing, Carlberry race against MiniSebrango in the very near future.
Yep.
And thank you, chat. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next mission.